Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to the first episode of my Poke Vlog slash podcast type thing, which I'm calling Fully EV'd because I thought that was kind of appropriate for purposes of what I do on this channel. But what I'm basically going to do is show some video in the background, maybe might be a Pokemon battle, might be something else, of something that I wouldn't normally narrate because it wasn't like that special of a battle, and I just wanted to more or less just talk about something. But first I want to just point out right here that I'm using a Curse Masharna, and I'm able to take out a Pokemon that tried to pursuit trap me, which I think was the funniest thing ever. But anyways, today my episode is basically going to be about how you got started with Pokemon, whether it be just playing the games yourself, or how you got more into the competitive battling scene like I did. But for me, and this the reason why I'm saying this today is because this was a commonly asked question on my Q&A video, and I figured I could do a whole video on this because it's kind of a long story. Um, I initially got into Pokemon, competitive Pokemon, um, one week when my friend Jimmy, also goes by the name of Asian Storm, that's like his gamer tag thing. He slept over in my room one night in my dorm at college, and we basically just started talking about, competitive things, and he obviously mentioned Pokemon to me for the first time, and I didn't know at all that there was a competitive scene for this, because obviously when I played these games, I played up until Ruby and Sapphire, and then I kind of stopped because I didn't get a DS. But I loved them back then, and I obviously, you don't really stop liking a game just because you grow older. You just, it might not become that important of a part of your life. But he introduced me to basically what Smogon was. He told me about how there's like, tanks and walls and sweepers and all this kind of stuff that I didn't even know was a thing. And so after he left, I basically went online onto Smogon for the first time ever and started seeing the kinds of stuff that they do. Learned about EVs and IVs and natures and all these kinds of things that I never really thought about as being strategic in any possible way, just kind of things that happened while you played the game. And for the most part, I was pretty much blown away by the depth that this game has. And so from then on, I was basically hooked on Pokemon and competitive things related to it because I am a pretty competitive guy. When it comes to video games, I like competitive video gaming a lot. As a lot of you know, I do play Smash Brothers Melee competitively, and I'm also starting to get into Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So it's kind of a big thing for me in my spare time. And so with Pokemon, it's a lot easier for me because I obviously don't have to be with people like you do with those games to play. You can do this mainly online. So I found Shoddy Battle, which I didn't even know was a thing. I didn't even think Pokemon Online existed back then when I found this. And it was just a simulator that I was trying stuff out with. And so obviously, I had my own ideas for what Pokemon should be doing because of how I used to play with, Gold and Silver. That was kind of my favorite Pokemon game, or generation, so to speak. And um, I would make my own sets, but there were also the Smogon ones, which I did try out a lot of when I first started doing this. And so my favorite thing ever, and this is essentially why this is my favorite Pokemon, which is Umbreon. I ended up getting a few sweeps the first time I ever played the game because I was using a Curse Umbreon set that was on Smogon at the time. It isn't anymore, which I don't know why because it's really good. But it's basically, max special defense, max HP, and then curse up a million times because Umbreon is so freaking bulky. And if nothing has toxic to stop you, you basically can even live close combats after a few curses. But overall, this just became like a constant thing I was doing in my spare time. Like I would go on Shoddy and play some battles and whatnot, and it was really fun for a lot of it. And I eventually, found my way over to YouTube and found people like MTG Xerxes and Xenon, who I believe you all know, and my favorite of all, who no longer exists, which is unfortunate, a YouTuber by the name of Utan. This guy was probably my favorite. He was such like a friendly sounding person and always had some interesting things to say about Pokemon, and unfortunately he decided to take all of his videos down at one point because he just wanted to deal with more life-related things and stop worrying about Pokemon. But good for him for figuring out what is important. But it was kind of a letdown for me. But I feel like a lot of how I talk and how I narrate things is kind of based on him from back in the day. But the thing that kind of changed the way I went about this is when I first saw this video that Xenon posted, which he titled SO Pokemon, and I think it was a Porygon 2 video where he had, I think the set was Tri Attack, Shadow Ball, Substitute, Slash Recover, and Conversion. I'm not sure if it was Conversion or Conversion 2. But either way, it was this thing where basically fighting types are obviously wanting to come in a Porygon 2, so you could use Conversion, and since you have Shadow Ball as one of your moves, it'll switch you to a Ghost type, making you immune to any of those fighting moves, and if something wanted to come in like a Ghost type to hit you, you could use Conversion again to switch back to a normal type. And this was the coolest thing in the world to me, and I was blown away by like the creativity that this guy has, and this is why he's kind of my favorite now. But because of that, I was thinking, I have a pretty creative mind, so I can, make sets too if I feel like it. And so that's kind of how this channel was born. I basically went through move lists of various guys and started thinking of like random ideas, and some of them were good, some of them were pretty bad. And if you look back on the original videos on this channel, with the exception of the Umbreon set, which I still think is really good, even though a lot of people will probably debate that, you'll see that they're pretty bad, most of the sets that I make, but I leave them up there for nostalgia purposes because I just like keeping them there, and there's always people that like randomly find them and comment and are like, wow, that's a pretty awful set, and I'm like, yeah, it is, but when I made this I had no idea what I was talking about. But I leave it up there anyways. But it was just something fun for me to do, and eventually, when you first start a YouTube channel, you obviously don't get a lot of views. And when I first got like 100 views on my first video, I was so happy. It was the coolest thing ever. And there were people that would comment on them, and I would be like, awesome, comments. That's new to me because this is, a YouTube channel that I just started. And it's kind of cool because 2 days ago is actually the 2-year anniversary of when I actually made this channel, but not when I uploaded a video. I think that's July 30th. But anyways, um, overall, this kind of just became a big thing as I kept posting, and once Black and White was announced, I started doing analyses of those Pokemon, and that caught a lot of attention really quickly, and kind of how this channel became to grow to the size that it is now, and how I have, 5,000 whatever subscribers, which I'm extremely thankful for, by the way, guys. Thank you a lot. But overall, um, this what seemed like would be, just a fun hobby for me to partake in my spare time ended up turning out to be something that a lot of people enjoyed, and I was very surprised by that. Like, I'm just some kid that decided one day to start posting videos online, and a lot of people apparently liked it, which was very surprising to me. And so that's kind of where we are today. So if it wasn't for my friend Jimmy, I would have never actually gotten into this whole thing and made this whole experience, Pokemon experience, into what it is today. So obviously I have to thank him for that. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this topic. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my origins. So what I'm curious about is how all of you, found this channel and got into the competitive scene of Pokemon. So if you could leave a comment, I timed this out really well because the battle just ended. If you could all leave a comment saying, how you got started into Pokemon, that would be really awesome. And I would love to read all of how you all figured out this kind of stuff and even came across my channel someday. So do that so I have something cool to look forward to, and let me know if you like this kind of video. I think it's a lot of fun, and it's something more casual for me to do as opposed to always feeling like I need to be super professional in my uploading or whatever you want to call it, if you call anything what I do professional. But I've always wanted to do these for a little while, and I finally figured out a way to actually do it by just, putting something on in the background for you to watch while I talk or something like that. But anyways, everyone, thank you all for listening to me for, 10 minutes. As you saw, I had a Kangaskhan sweep in this battle. It's a really old set that I made back a while ago, and I actually have a video of it on my channel, but I replaced one of the moves. I used Workup, but I originally had Rage on this Kangaskhan, which was hilarious because it would work and I would keep upping my attack as people attacked me. And I would also run a Select on it, but unfortunately Select berries don't exist in 5th gen yet, so I just put leftovers on it anyways. But that's enough about that set. I managed to get a sweep with it, which I thought was funny, so that was part of the reason why I wanted to upload this. But as I said, thank you all for listening. Let me know how you all got into the competitive scene in the comments, and I will see you next time. So take care, everyone, and goodbye.